And I think we're live. Welcome back, everybody. We're doing a thing. It's Thursday. You know what that means. It means we're coding in Rails today. Actually, we got a lot of stuff we're doing today, but we're going to do Rails mostly. We'll answer your questions. We're going to have a great time. We're also going to tell everybody on Twitter that we're live. Let me go put the link so you all actually know I'm here. And I hope you're having an awesome Thursday. Welcome to the party. Ooh. Ooh, too loud. I'm sorry about the loud music. I keep doing this to y'all every week. This should be better, though. If it's still too loud, let me know. I'd like to fix it. Because I feel like having a little bit of music goes a long way for us. So yeah, we're going to pick up where we left off last week. So let's get started. Also, I might get up. Normally, my wife's here. She's not here this weekend. So I'm on my own, meaning I'm going to have to get up and go make dinner at some point. So we're going to see how that is. Eating on stream for the first time. We haven't done that. But welcome to the stream. So let's talk about where we are. Where am I clicking? Okay, here we go. This is where we are. So last week, if you joined us, you might recall that we spent a lot of time writing tests. We spent a lot of time writing tests because we were starting to build validation. So like if we come to our event model, for instance, we added this lovely new validation, and it's all about, it's internationalized. We talked about flaky testing and internationalization. We've got our has many types. We fixed those a couple streams ago, but that's been super great. What else did we do? We actually wrote the tests. We learned fixtures last week. So we learned how to make some fixtures. We learned how we could use ERB to do it. We actually wrote our event model tests, which, look pretty good. We feel pretty good about them. We might need to come and fix some of the flakiness that we introduced by doing it a certain way. Not a problem. We'll do some cleanup this week. That's totally fine. We want to get things green. We also installed Guard, which is a way to automate the test running of unit testing, and that way we don't have to run the test manually every single time. It's like the watch option in most other test runners if you're used to that. And I know I'm missing something. We did a lot. Let's go. You know what the best way to actually look and see what we did last week? Let's look at our to-dos. Okay, so we were working on tests. We did fixtures, set up Guard and Faker. And that was, that was about it last week. We spent a lot of time on tests. And if y'all remember, I got stuck on a test. And I got stuck on that test because what ended up happening is when we started doing the integration testing, we ran into a little snag here, which is I created this destroy all relationship, or this destroy relationship. So whenever I delete event, I don't want to orphan the data in my database, and I'd like to get rid of the sessions and the speakers. So I went ahead and I set this up, but it turns out I did something wrong a little further downstream, and it was in the event sessions speaker model here. And in here, you might remember I did these lovely belong to relationships, but if you go up one more level into our session, I had this as a destroy relationship. And what we learned is when you do the destroy like this, it does ID-based destroys, which might not actually work in a case where you're doing cascading deletes. So you actually had to switch it to delete all. The only way it would have worked the other way is if I actually left the ID field on the event session speakers, but it doesn't make sense because it's a join table. So weird little buggo. And we're going to talk more about this tonight because we're actually going to talk about why what I did is actually still not a great idea and how we're going to fix that for reals. So I kind of made us a to-do list for tonight because I kind of went back through last week's stream and I was like, hey, I think there are some things we should just kind of finish doing and fixing. First and foremost was I just kind of decided shorthand was not a good decision. I was just like, it's an org. But we talked about how we might have multiple organizations. So I went ahead and I added a to-do for us to just quickly refactor that and show you how we could do it with TDD. I want to finish the controller test that we started on, get those finished up now that we actually have a pattern that works. And then we're going to start adding some uniqueness and index validations on session and speaker, because we learned through our test last week that, some uniqueness factors might actually be important for us, especially since, we might not want two Dustin Goodmans talking at our conference. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. We'll have to figure that out. But, we wouldn't want two sessions by the same name being accepted. Another thing we're going to do is we want to start allowing users to switch between their organizations, because you're going to remember last week in our event creator, right, in our events controller, we added a little bit of code here that said, hey, when we make a new event, let's just go ahead and set it to the current user's current org, which we said, hey, maybe this isn't the best thing we should do. Like, maybe this is wrong, something we need to look into, because we want to make sure that the event is created under the right organization for permissions. And because we have pundit and all that, we're going to want to make sure that we're doing that correctly. So we're gonna make it so when I log in, I have a way to switch between my organizations. We'll show how you could do that. And then I'm going to end around, let's see, 8 o'clock tonight, because I have a friend who wants to do something. So I know my system, oh, you don't see my system clock, so never mind, ignore that. But we're going to end around 8 Eastern, just because I want to go hang out with some friends who asked me to hang. But if time permits, we're going to add some additional OAuth providers. We're going to do some organization, user management, and some event creation, because I think these would be fun features and would actually get us some end-to-end user experiences that'll actually make us see like why Rails is so great. Because I've been talking about how it's so great, but you haven't even seen a feature yet. We've just been writing controller code and tests, and you're like, what? Man, that seems like a lot of work. You don't have to do anything I'm doing. I'm just showing you how I would maybe approach the problem and explain my thinking. And, this is tutorial-based streaming and building. So I'm not doing what I would normally do. I'm doing what I think would be fun to do as a group and to bring you along on the journey rather than just making assumptions. So, yeah, let's get started. We're gonna keep our to-do list. As we find things, we might add it. So, future to-dos will go here as we find them, and we'll write it all down as we find it, and then it'll become things for us to do later. So, future to-dos, but this is our plan. So let's go and start with the quick refactor I just mentioned. And kind of coming back to it, I wrote current org. I just wrote org. I didn't write organization, and I'm feeling kind of bad about it, if I'm being completely honest. So the reason I'm feeling so bad about it is it's really an organization. It's a platform organization specifically, similar to org access. And like, I keep using these shorthands to make things faster to type, but IntelliSense is pretty good. Like, if I wrote org ID, like, I could just do that. So I want to change things to be a little more explicit. And we're going to have to be careful with how explicit we get and whatnot because of naming collisions and all that. But I think we're going to make a couple of quick changes to our user model. So I'm going to do proper TDD this time rather than starting from here and working backwards. So what I would like to do is I want to change A, I need to fix this, and B, I need to fix this. So first one, org access. I want to change this to be organization access. And this is really platform organization access. So I want to change this method to work this way. And the reason being is it's a very, well, it seems like a verbose name and everything. It's the name that I think would best serve anybody looking at this, especially as we add more concepts later. So if we go ahead and we run this model test, first thing we're going to do is we're going to see, hey, red test, this thing doesn't exist. What are you doing, Dustin? And the answer is, that's what I want it to do. I want to just change it. Oops, not to that. But if I grab the name that I just decided this is going to be, we're going to see that I just changed that and my tests go green again. And we're happy about that because now we have a great way to do tests. And then I'm actually going to fix this by doing this TDD as well. Now, this isn't the test I actually want long-term, but this is the test that I'm going to write tonight. For now, we're gonna maybe change this. This is gonna be the first feature that I really want to build. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna get, frankly, a lot of the same code. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the local test, and we're gonna get the organization as this connect tech one. And what I want to do is just assert that the local user's current organization platform is the platform. And if it's not, they don't have it. So if I go ahead and I run this test, what I should see is, hey, that didn't work. I didn't do it right. Oh, wait, no, I just didn't give it the right name. So I'm going to get the current organization, platform organization. I'm going to rename our method, and I'm going to go ahead and just run it again. And apparently I can't type because something ain't happy. So if I run the test correctly, I had a bad test setup. So now I have a local user. That local user has a platform organization. Should be a singular, not a plural. So that might help. Undefined method user in our test. So line 46. So maybe it was platforms and users, and I just needed to type it all correctly and just get one record. And hey, look at that. Our test is working the way we expected it to. We get a nice little green light. Now, let's have a little fun with this, because this is going to be the feature I want to build tonight. So let's go to our platform organization YAML. And I do have React Conf as our other conference, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. And if we look at our user fixture, we're going to see that the only organization that I put in here was Connect Tech. Well, let's make this a little fancier. Let's say it's both Connect Tech and React Conf. Let's say let's say that our hero, the local user, has actually two organizations, right? So let's run this test again, but I'm going to put a debugger because I want to stop it early. And I want to look and make sure that, like, if I pull my local user and if I look at their platform organizations, that I didn't foobar it and we actually get two. And the answer is, yep, we got two. We're really happy about that. So we're going to continue. And what we're going to find is that our test now is a little flaky. So if we look at our test, our lovely test here, it says the user does not have a current organization. And that seems wrong because we know that Connect Tech was an organization. But what we assumed on our user is that it's always the first one, right? And this is going to be a bug that's going to be persistent throughout our application. There we go, words. So if I just do a quick put on local user platform, current platform organization, right? We just actually call our method. Let's just inspect it, right? So if we run our test now, what we're going to see is we do have it, and it's React Conf is the first organization. So now our test is showing us that the assumption we were making, that the first one in is the first one out, is untrue. And so now we have this issue where we can't rely on that behavior. So we've officially broken our feature, right? And I'm happy that we broke it, right? We were green, now we're not. This to-do right here is what we need to do to fix this. So for the sake of our test, we're going to recognize this is broken, and we're going to come back and fix this tonight. This is literally one of our to-dos, number 5. So that might be the first thing we do. But I want to go finish 3 and 4 first, because what would also be nice is, as we're doing this, I'd like to just be able to run the whole suite and see it. Wow, I am having a terrible time typing and talking. But what I would like to do is be able to run this and not have any red before we get started. So I'm going to do a little bit of reverting for now. Well, actually, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to allow this to be the one failing test because we're going to come back and fix this at the end. So let's go ahead and get through all of it. We see that's a failing test. We're fine with that. Events controller is our next one. We had fixed this last week, if you remember, and we fixed all our tests. And now it's saying, hey, something's broken again. And I don't know what's wrong. Can you help me, please? And so that's what we're going to do first. So we also have other fun bugs here, like this is showing all the events that this user can see by whatever organization they want. Now, you might be like, oh, well, can't they just see all of their data at once? Totally. That's something that maybe we might want to consider as a user experience. Or the other user experience is just handle one organization at a time. From a securities and like data infringement perspective, it's better to keep things isolated per environment because we might do some customizations at the organization level that we don't want to bleed across different environments. So this is something that we're going to need to do later. So we're going to add that as a to-do. And it's really a to-do under this, which is fix events listing to only show current org events. So that's something we're gonna deal with later. And then we'll do some spacing here, I guess. Come on, Markdown, don't be that way. But now if we come back in here, what we said is in the create method, we did current organization. It's current platform organization, right? We changed that name. And then in our pundit, we wrote org access. Now we got to go find every single instance of org access. Now, the good news is we can just do a global find and replace all, which is, kind of easy to do. So we're going to just replace with platform, organization, access, ? Find and replace all. And we're going to find is all our files very quickly get refactored, and we don't have to do a whole lot more. So if we go and we rerun our test yet again, what we're going to find this time is our platform organization controller test needs some love. Our platform, and actually this is good news. We're seeing different failing tests this time because some things aren't matching, some things are. So let's go finish fixing these, but we're going to start with a quick commit because we should commit this, which is we have fixed the naming. So we're going to say fix naming of platform organization lookup on user. And that's just because we want all of that to be relatively standard. Okay, so let's go and start with our platform organization controller because I think that's a great place to start because that's where it's saying something's broken. So let's start here and we need to grab the test file, platform organization test, right? Wrong one. We need the controller test or controller test. Okay. So let's go ahead and just narrow down what we're looking to just this one file and actually pass in the right argument. This is mad because I passed in the real file, not the actual test file. So if we pass in the test file, now we're going to see there's only one failure in here. And it's mad because the count didn't change by 1 on the should create. So should create platform organization. And so here we go. Here's our platform organization's URL. Here are our params. Here's our platform. This is probably mad just because we didn't give it a name, right? So if we go back to Faker, let's do it. Actually, do we want that? Let's see. Let's go to our lovely friend Faker here. Also, can we close a lot of this? These were our notes from last week. Totally can get rid of that. We figured all of this out. I even wrote a blog post on this, by the way. I don't know if I told you all that. But I was so mad with what happened and how we were doing this that I was like, no, this needs to have a blog post. So I went ahead and I wrote about it. So if you're like wondering what happened and whatnot, you can watch the stream from last week. You can see exactly what happened, how it went. It was, we got a full write-up on what happened last week. It's great. I'll post that in the chat because why not? Okay, so let's go back to Faker for a minute, and we're looking at the different faker libraries that it gives us. Let's see what's in default. Like, is there an organization concept in faker, or like a company maybe? Company would be nice. Yeah, so we got company and we kind of need a name. So let's make company name. Faker company name. Let's just make that the test. And I bet you as soon as we do that, we should have gotten green. But it said, you know what? Nope, this doesn't work. And it's mad because forbidden attributes. Now, I don't know why everything's saying it's green when we clearly have an error. These dots are interesting to me. I'm curious what else is running behind the scene. But let's go look and see what's happening here. I'm guessing if we go into the platform controller here and we go down to our parameters. So Ruby has this strong parameters thing. I always forget the syntax, but we did it in our other controllers. So we're going to go borrow the syntax from there. And it's just params require permit. And so what this says is params require platform organization and permit name. What this is saying is there will be a payload. This payload will have something called platform organization, and it might have name, and it might have something here. Might have, I don't know what an organization might have. It might have a rep rating, right? 5. Well, right now we don't permit 5. So what this is saying is, hey, we don't actually have this field. We're only going to allow you to pass a name, and this is going to just sanitize the inputs that we receive so we don't get more than we're expecting at the router layer. If you need more specific parameterization like this for specific use cases, you can write that. But once I do this and I rerun our test, what we're going to find is we still have a bad test. But this time, what we're seeing is our test passed because we were able to get the name. But then now it's failing on the update request, actually, which takes the same params, so this is helpful. But now in the update, it's trying to redirect to something, and it's saying, yeah, no, I don't have that. This is a bad request. It's a 400. So actually, we don't know why. So let's find out. So when we run our test this time, I'm so used to semicolons. Okay, so should update platform organization. If we come back, should update platform, it should patch this with those so it failed. So the 400 here was the bad request because, again, the parameters that we're expecting, the new ones that we set, aren't being set correctly at this point. So if we go ahead and introduce it, now we're going to get green test because this is actually working the way we expect it to. Now, we might be like, hey, is this right? Is this actually the behaviors we want? Maybe. We need to look into that, and we just want a green suite for now. We'll fix behavior stuff kind of as we're going. But for now, this is good. Everybody's happy, and we got a green suite again on this test. So we're going to keep going. Let's see where we're at next, because more and more things. So let's go to the speaker controller test. And we'll need the event speaker controller as well. And let's go ahead and just filter down to this one controller test because we said this would be easier for us to quickly kind of go through things. And we're seeing we got a bunch of failures. So let's kind of go one by one and see kind of what's happening here. So first one is the should update event speaker. Okay. So here's our event speaker. And what we're seeing is the event speaker URL event speaker has all of this really great stuff, except there's no ID. Now, it's a little gross to read, if I'm being honest, but we can make this better, or at least I hope we can make this better. Yeah, so we're making this, we're going to try and make this better one field at a time. Except I just made it worse by making this on a new line. So if we come in here, we hit save, this is a lot more readable. And so we're trying to do an event speaker update, and it's trying to get the params ID. Now, I know from last week, and you might remember from last week, that this event speaker URL is incorrect. Because what it actually needs is it needs 2 pieces of information. Oh no, did you actually kick a hornet's nest today, or do you mean that metaphorically? Because that would be scary. Super scary. Okay, so event speaker ID. Okay, whoo. All right, what did you do? Tell us your story, Jeremy. I want to hear it. And while you're doing that, I'm going to fix this test by actually making the URL correct. So remember, it needs an event ID, which we have off the event. And we need the regular ID, which is off the event ID as well. And then we're expecting this to redirect to the actual speaker URL. So again, we can actually kind of lovely just copy, paste, and that test should be green now. So if we come look, and if we look for anything that says update, should update event, we're going to see there's no failing tests associated to that. So that's helpful. So problem 1 solved. So we already got 1 passing test. All right, let's do the next one. Now we got to deal with create. Probably the same issue, if we're being honest. So if we go ahead and just try to clean this up, make it a lot prettier to read again, because, you know, let's be nice to ourselves and make things not atrocious to read. Okay, now this test is going to fail later when we do some validations, but I want this. You retweeted a Coney meme platform fighter tier list with an assessment with how Rivals of Aether 2 was going to perform after launch, and he responded instantly. Then I got dogpiled by his 100K followers. Link the tweet. I'm gonna put it on stream. You got dogpiled. That's awful, but I applaud you for getting dogpiled. Okay, so all right, let's open this up. So what did you say? Like every other non-Smash title release with an upfront price will be dead on arrival and have a barely discernible community with a... Oh, Jeremy, why would you say this? Why would you say this? Oh no. Oh no, you messed up. I'm calling you out for messing up. That was, I mean, if you wanted to engagement bait, you win. You win on engagement bait. That was engagement bait, and I'm calling you out for it. I adore you, but that's engagement bait. Anyway, so here's kind of a fun problem that we're introducing. We need to now actually have the event ID in the speaker URL, which luckily, because we're prefetching event speaker, we can just use that. And then down here, if y'all remember, this is just going to need to be, this isn't going to work as last. And if you remember when we did this last week, we had a problem. We had to do kind of a search on first name and a search on last name, and we needed some uniqueness here. So we're actually going to go back to Faker again, because Faker's awesome. And we're going to see if it's got a person, people, human, user. It's got to have one of these. I'm sure there is one. I don't think it's avatar. Yeah, I didn't think it was avatar. I will say this, the one thing about Faker I don't like, their docs aren't my favorite. It is true that you did a thing and you got owned by doing it, but I totally respect that you did it, because, like, let's be real, we all want the engagement bait. It's great for our accounts. It's why we do what we do. Oh, here we go. There's literally first name, last name, Faker helper. I love this. I love this a lot. All right, so we're gonna do new first name, new last name, and then we're going to change this to be our new last name, and we're going to move this closer to first name and then move both of these towards the top, because that's kind of our uniqueness filter here. And now we got our new first name, new last name, event can be the same. We're good on all that. And now what we have to do is the new speaker is going to be event speaker fine And then we also need to do this by event ID. So event ID is the original event speaker event ID. Now we can do the first name, last name thing, which kind of gross to do all of this, but this was the uniqueness constraint we put into play. And now we have to decide some things later down the line. But we're going to go ahead and make sure all of these are the same. We should have just fixed our create test with that. Now, before I write more tests to like try to fix each one of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and call out the fact that I already know some of these tests are broken and I know why they're broken. So in here, this needs to be actually exactly what it just said. And Copilot's going to give me that. We needed the event speaker event ID in the URI to fix these two. These were just going to be broken until then. That's why create was broken. That's why most of these are actually going to be broken. So like event ID here is going to be event ID, and then the ID is going to be the speaker event ID. And then we have the same need down here on our edit. And it looks like we already did it on our update, but we probably didn't do it on our destroy here. So let's go ahead and do it on our destroy. And then for the redirect URL, we just need to get rid of the ID on it. And if I know what I'm doing, and we've proven sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, we should be mostly fixed. But hey, look, we still got some errors. So let's figure out why our tests are unhappy. And it's probably because our controller's not fixed either. We fixed our tests, and now it's like, yeah, your tests are good, but everything else is absolutely terrible, so you should just go fix it. And guess what? It looks like that's true. So let's go ahead and figure out, it looks like it's a redirect issue, another redirect issue, a fourth redirect issue. Now the question is, it's one of two things here. Is it because we didn't log in? Or is it because I actually set the redirects incorrectly? Now, if we look at our test, it's actually telling us it's because I forgot to log in. So if we go back to our session test from last week, we can go ahead and just grab the integration helpers again, include those, and then just do the sign in like we said. And this will just make that first problem go away. So we're signed in. That's a test setup. We're good. Now we're seeing, hey, we fixed a lot of things there. We're pretty happy with that. But we still have a problem, and it's because this update, and it's not just the update. Although, why is this even working? This should be ID. I don't know why it's not. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so we fixed that. If we come over yonder, back to our speaker test, we're going to go look here and make sure I haven't missed anything. So redirects, there's redirects in places like right here. So this one, if you remember, we need event ID is the event ID here. And then the ID is same thing, but ID. That'll fix this test. And my guess is we'll need the same general logic down here in our update. And then it's not going to be exactly the same, but almost the same in our destroy. Because what we need is we just need the event ID. And what we can do here is say, hey, we did have an event speaker. That's still in memory, so we can still get the event ID off of it. So let's go ahead and do that. And so when we do everything that I just showed you, we still have one failure. And we like that we just got rid of most of our failures because it assumes that the assumptions we've been making have been pretty accurate so far. So we have a creation test, and my guess is our creation test is unhappy because we've done something horribly, horribly wrong. So if we go ahead and we just put a lovely debugger inside of here, when we run it, we should hit it. And now what we can go ahead and we can just kind of short circuit this. This is the debugging technique I've been showing y'all over and over again. Let's look at event speaker, and then let's see if it's valid. If it's not valid, like here, we can get the error messages or errors. That's right. It's errors. And then we can get the full messages just like that. And It's mad because it's assuming there's going to be an event here, and we're not passing an event. Now, if we come back and we do the thing we did kind of like last week, if we make this legible, so it's not completely off screen and everything, we can see that event ID is not allowed as one of our parameters here. Truth is, this is going to need to be allowed. Unlike last week where I said, oh no, we'll assume that the organization can be derived from the current user. This is not true about the event because we're not going to want to store the current event and the current user on it. Now, that being said though, it doesn't need to be there though. And the reason it doesn't need to be there is because in our method here, we have our parameters, but we need to extend them. So our parameters are actually going to be, I don't remember if you can spread in Ruby. So this is a question I need to, Ruby spread hash keys into new hash. I don't know if this is possible. What's the Ruby way? Is it gross? Is it really gross? Yeah, it's really gross. So, oh, wait, is this better? Yeah, okay, so it's basically saying I need to do like a immutability thing and just remap it and do a thing. I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to be a bad person. We're going to, well, no, we should fix it. Let's do it the right way. So what we really need to do here, and I'm curious if there's a better, is there a clone? Because I'm good with clone. Or even duplicate. Duplicate. I don't want to, oh, merge might work. Adds the contents of another hash to hash. If I do it without the merge, what I can do is excellent. So H1's preserved if I use merge. So this is what I want. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our event speaker parameters and we're going to merge them together with a hash of my own making, which is, in this case, I'm going to pull the event ID off the parameters because we actually know it's there. And what we're going to say is this is the create params because that's a fair name for it. And we could just say create params. And really? That's gross. Don't make me do that. That's not cool, Ruby. Sometimes I really don't like you. Most of the time I like you, but that time I didn't like you so much. So this time we're good to go because we got through we actually got through our method here. But now it's mad because this new first name thing couldn't be found in our test. So if we go back to our test here for the create, we asserted a difference. And our problem is scoping. So if you are aware of how scoping works in JavaScript with closures, same thing just happened. So what I did is these do blocks. So I'm doing this for my JavaScript fam. So basically what this is saying is assert difference, takes in some string, and then this is the function right here. The do is a function. So we did this, and what I did is I defined first name, last name inside of that closure, so it wasn't accessible outside of the closure on the very next line where I needed it. So little snafu by me, easy to fix though, and now we got a passing test. And we're very happy about that. We're very, very happy about that. And look at that. With that, we're down to one test failure, and it's the test failure we said we were going to fix as our very next thing. So guess what? Our tests are working. We're very, very happy. We have effectively completed our first line. We have effectively completed our second line. We're off to a great start tonight, everybody. Although I might need to do this differently in Markdown. We'll just do a checkbox like that. I'm sure there's better ways to do this. But we're gonna do it the hard way. Gonna do it the hard way. All right. So And we'll just keep doing the same thing down the line. Boom and boom. Okay. So let's talk about this thing I just did in my tests. And let's talk about how bad of a behavior is it? And is it something that I need to fix? So we're going to jump back to these two for a minute because I don't want to miss this. So in event session controller test, which I can clean up a lot. There's a lot of like linting and cleaning that I could do. We're going to ignore that for a minute. We're going to focus in for a second though on this line of code right here. So if you remember in last week, I wrote this, I had to find by name and I had to do this new name thing. It's because I needed to do a find by something unique inside of my controller test. And this is good and all, but it's slow because what I'm effectively doing is I have a data set that is here. Let's draw this out. So this is my event session table, right? So I have ID, name, and a bunch of other fields here. So like I have one, and actually, hold on. Also event ID. So I have 1 A. I have 2 1 A, 3 1. Sorry, B, C. This is gonna get very confusing very quickly. What the heck is that, by the way? Oh, Copilot, go away. I don't want you right now. So 4. Let's say this belongs to the next event, A, 4 2B, or sorry, 4 2B, 4 2C. So basically, this session was submitted to event 1 and event 2, and these names are the same. These unique names are unique, and they have this ID. But what I said right now, what's possible, and this is a bad thing, is I could create, and this should be 5, 6. We can almost ignore this first column. These are just incrementing up. But I could have created another event session with the same event and the same name. So 7-1A. So this is where spoofing becomes an actual valid user feature that could be happening. And we don't want this to be possible. So we want to prevent this from happening. This is bad, right? Now, the way I can fix it is a few ways, but one of the things that I had to do in my query is I had to do basically the following SQL operation. I had to do select star from event session where the event ID was, let's say I was looking for 1A, or I was actually looking for 7. I did where event ID was 1 and well, I just did this for starters, and I just tried to grab the last one, right? And this didn't work because it tried to find the same object, and I couldn't find it. But then I said, okay, we'll do the name where it's A, right? Well, that would have given me both 7 and 1. But then I said, only give me 1. And I said limit 1, and it just gave me the first one it found, in this case, probably row 1. But I wanted row 2. So this isn't great because now I have this double locking procedure. So what I did instead is I renamed this one to A prime or whatever. I'll call it AA for black. And now I did this. Well, this is fine, but this is still bad as the data in my database grows. So events can have an arbitrary number of events. We just don't know how many. And so what this is now doing is it's saying, hey, here, first filter by all my events. Okay, it gets rid of that. I'm still left with 4 records. Now it has to go 1 by 1 until it scans the table and finds the matching record. This is slow when I have, let's say there's 1,000 rows here, right? This would be slow. This is bad. We don't want this. This is bad database design. So arguably what I should do is create an index now that allows me to filter on. Now you might be like, wait, why didn't it look through all the twos? Well, it was because I do have something called an index on event ID. And so that index says, hey, I can quickly get to this subset, which is great. But maybe I need to have an index on ID and name so I could do those lookups. At the same time, I haven't written any production code that actually does this query. And because I haven't done any production code that does this query, and I'm not sure I'm ever going to write production code that does this query, the question now becomes, should I put an index on it? And the answer is yes. And it's not because I want to query on it. It's because I want to protect against it. So what I can now do is I can create something called a uniqueness index constraint. And what that's going to be is I write an index to the database on event name, event ID and name, effectively. So event ID and name. And what this will do is and it's like unique is true, something like that. We'll look up the syntax in a second because I forgot how to do it. But what this is going to do is it's going to prevent me from creating multiple sessions into the same table. Multiple sessions with the same event and name into the same table. So, if two people write a talk called GraphQL 101, I accept one, I can't create the second GraphQL 101. It needs to become GraphQL 101-2 or whatever. Somebody will have to do a rename. And that'll be up to the conference to manage, and that's something we might need to encounter. But that's something we should probably prevent against, because this is something like people don't usually want duplicated names. It's usually not a good thing. It's a bad user experience all around. People get confused, like, am I looking for this one or am I looking for that one? And then they have to go do other lookups. So this is something we're going to need to do. Similarly, something we need to do is the same thing, but on speaker going to first name, last name. Now, I kind of said it earlier. And when I say earlier, I mean like 2 streams ago, there's another Dustin Goodman who's a developer in the world. I know because I've tried to get the domain and I found his stuff instead. Well, I don't know if he's a tech speaker, but he's definitely a person. And I wonder if he is a tech speaker. If he is a tech speaker, him and I going to the same conference trying to have conference talks might be a little bit of a problem. That's something we'd have to discover later and deal with. But I don't know if that's as common or big a problem as other things. So what we want to do for now, I'm connected to my name twin on LinkedIn. Hey, I like that. Isn't that the best? Now, while this event name, event ID rule is good for our session schema, it might not be good for our speaker schema. So if we go kind of look for our speaker table real quick, event ID is a good one, but we don't have other personally identifiable information on this record. And that's kind of problematic. We just don't have the uniqueness constraint on it. So what I actually think we should do here is speakers do have emails. And we just decided not to store it before. But I think that's what we're going to do here is instead of being unique on first name, last name, we're going to introduce the concept that a speaker has an email and that speaker email in conjunction with the ID, the event ID, that is unique, because I'm guessing emails have to be unique to some degree. I'm guessing. You'll have to tell me, are your twin, do y'all have the same email domain? I doubt it. So that's going to be something we need to do. So we're going to end up creating a migration here. So we're going to do 3 things in this migration. One is add a uniqueness constraint to event session on event ID and name. 2, add email to speaker. And then 3, add a unique constraint to speaker on event ID and email. So we're going to do these 3 things. And that's going to solve a lot of our current problems as I foresee them. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in history and look up our lovely migration command because I forgot how to do it. Hopefully that shows up. Okay, cool. So we're going to do bin Rails G migration, and we're going to say add indexes, or well, let's do this best practice way. We're gonna do this in 2 migrations. Migration 1 is going to be step 1, and migration 2 is going to be step 2 and 3. So first one is we're going to add uniqueness index to event session on name. Long migration name, but that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to do another migration, which is going to be bin rails g migration, add email and index to event speaker. So now we're going to have two different migrations. We're just separating them for cleanliness. Like usually these would probably be 2 tickets on somebody's board, or if you're early enough in a project, like that would just be something you do. And before we get too much further, let us fix all the tests. Yeah, we just fixed all the tests. So now let's go ahead and grab, we're going to grab our migration and we're going to do, I don't even know what it's called. So I'm going to find it the old fashioned way. DB migrate file 1, file 2. So in our first file, we want to add an index to event session. So add on event ID and event name. Now this is the part where I'm not sure if I'm writing this correctly. So we're going to go look at the Rails migration add index. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to do a compound composite index. I don't really want a composite primary key, although that actually would make sense for our join tables now that I'm thinking about it. This might be why we broke our table in a previous step. Guess what? Remember how I spent way too much time last week fixing a thing? That's why. God dang it. Yep. I messed up. It's okay. We'll deal with this later. We'll deal with the fact that I can't believe I did that. And we're just going to fix it. So I'm just so mad at myself now. Okay, so we can do a unique index on 2 keys just like that. So this is the exact oh my God. Okay. Good news is we wrote this correctly this time. Now, you might be like, hey, why is this? This is just a shorthand in Rails and my linter is catching it. So great. This works. Can you fix this for me? Well, let's see how bad I've been doing. Probably been doing a very bad job of running Rubocop regularly. I should probably fix that. Like my guard file. Okay, this isn't too bad. The files didn't get too far out of date. So we fixed our first one. This ain't bad. We're going to want to borrow this syntax because I said we were going to do this to the next table too. So let's go ahead and do it here. We're going to add an index on event speakers. And we're going to change this to event ID and email. And we're also going to say this is uniqueness constraint. All right. And the other thing we need to do is we need to add a column. Add column is the other one. And this is pretty easy for us at this point. So we're just going to add a column to event speakers called email. It will be a string. And let's just go look at our user migration for a minute and just see what we did with the email. So we said false is null, default is empty string. So we can say null is false, default is empty string, and that feels like a pretty good migration to me. So we're going to close this because we don't need it. And we're just going to run our migrations now. No, it's been Rails db migrate was the command I actually meant to run. And now we're going to find out that something's wrong. And the constraint is a standard error occurred. This will force a thing. So SQLite unique constraint failed, event speakers, event ID, event speakers email. And that's because uniqueness constraint failed on something trying to create speakers. So if I go ahead and do a quick bin Rails C, and if we go and look for our event speaker and we look at all, we're going to see we've got me, Mike, Corey, and no problem. Now, probably the problem is none of them have emails. So this is where having our nice little seed has been helpful. We would have to fix this elsewhere, but I'm not going to do that for everybody. So we're just going to do email, and we're going to just do, hopefully this just works, but faker, internet, email, but we need this to be unique. So these will just be a new field we add to every record. This is mad because an unexpected token. We'll see if, oh, ha. I don't actually need the ERB syntax here because this is already Ruby. So we can just add emails to everybody and give them fake emails because I don't know what their real emails are, and I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate me putting those on stream, even if I did. So we're going to just do bin Rails. And we're just going to do db drop. We're just going to drop it. We're just going to be done. And then if we do bin db setup, and I have my pending migrations, everybody's happy. And then what we can do is we can just make sure that our bin Rails db seed works. And this is unhappy because there's an uninitialized constant in our seeds. So why? Let's figure out why. Rails seed, uninitialized. I'm sure somebody's done this before, so this is going to probably be a quick fix. It's in the development and test groups. So if I go to my gem file, if I look for faker, I only put it in test. I need it in development. Look at me needing to fix things. So if I go to my development and test groups, if I add faker there, we quickly do a bundle install and then try again. We'll see that almost everything worked. And this time it's our lovely date validation that I have mentioned time and time again is probably going to be the bane of our existence in seeds. So we're going to add that as a future to do. Fix seed file date validation issues so they can run whenever. But to get around this for now, we're just going to go to the event model. We're just going to temporarily disable that because that's an easy for us to do thing. And now we're good to go. Now we have data. Now we're happy again. So we've made some changes. We've added some uniqueness constraints. What happens if we run our tests? We're going to see that somebody's very unhappy with us right now. And they're very unhappy because a lot of uniqueness constraint issues. So our tests now are aware of our uniqueness. So we need to take care of that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick pause because your boy needs food and the oven's on and it's preheated and I'm hungry. So I'm going to go put the pizza in the oven real quick and I'll be right back and we're going to tackle this and show you how to do it. Food is in the oven. We're gonna have to wait in about 8 minutes. I'm gonna have to get up and go do that, but that'll be an easy fix. So we're gonna change some lighting, get some mood lighting because the sun's starting to move. It's getting hot in here too. And we're gonna start fixing our test now. So we've got a lot of uniqueness constraints. Now, there's probably two things we should do. First and foremost is we should go to our event session, right? And we should go to our event speaker, and we need to actually add these uniqueness constraints to our lovely friends here. So Rails, uniqueness, unique validation. So this is something you can absolutely put onto an active record validation, especially since, you know, this is something we're going to need. So we can go look at what uniqueness says, and it's easy for it to say, hey, there's uniqueness, there's case sensitivity, there's scope. And for us, we actually kind of, I think we want this case right here where the scope is year. So in this case, I think what our validation is going to be, just to try it. So we're going to validate, in this case for speaker, we introduced the field email, and it's scoped by event ID. So the message is, and we should internationalize this, but we're not going to tonight. And our message is should be unique per event. Maybe we can move that there. And what is this message? Move to locales file. God, you're so, you know what? You're just so right. You're just so right. And I can't argue with that. So let's go ahead and fix it. So we're going to have two validations here. So validation. So this one's going to be on name, unique, should be unique within the event. We're going to do the same thing. Event, and this one's going to be email. And it could also be unique within the event. So these aren't the best names. We might change them. We got to figure out what the context is going to be when users would actually see this. So this would be something to validate that way. What we're going to do for now is we're going to do I18N-T. And honestly, that looks pretty spanking good. That looks really spiffy. I like that. And we could do almost the exact same validation inside of session. And now we put name instead of email. And this one's mad because uniqueness validation should have a unique index on the database. Yes, I agree with you. Event session migrations. I do agree with what this just said. Add index, event sessions, event ID, and name, and make it unique. I literally did this. What do you mean I didn't do this? I'm letting my Southern come out. Because now I'm like, what? I totally did this. And I copied and pasted it so we would avoid exactly what just happened. It's there. This is totally here. Why do you think it's not here? I don't believe you. So if we go do bin rails db migrate, maybe I needed to run migrate twice. If we go to our schema, if we look at our indexes, right? We've got on session, event ID and name. There is a uniqueness constraint here. IntelliSense, I don't know what you're smoking. I'm gonna let you keep smoking because that's just blatantly not true. Uniqueness validation should have a unique index on the database column. Why? Why would you say this to me and be wrong? I don't know why it's wrong. This is event session now. And this one is name, so we can fix that much at least. But why is this mad? Scope is event ID. The name is unique. And that is correct. And we added that. Let's just do a bin rails db reset real fast. Let's go to the event, disable the thing one more time. Okay. I don't know why it's mad. This doesn't make sense. This constraint is absolutely here. So we're just going to ignore our IntelliSense for a minute because I think it's full of bukkake. But we do have some ruocopin to fix. And we might ignore some of these ruocops for a minute. First one is to take dates, put it back. Now this one's mad because of unreachable code. We'll come back and fix this. Although this one's just mad because everywhere I wrote Connect Tech 2023, it wants me to not say that. So that's, we'll find and replace that real fast. So it'll just be Connect Tech 2023. And as soon as I do this, play save all, ruocop will be happy with me again about those. But this one we're happy to ignore. This one is upset because I did something wrong. Assignment branch condition for dates is too high. 0, 24, 8. I always forget what the problem is with these. So we'll have to come back and look at this stuff. I don't think it seems highly relevant to what we're doing right now, but understood that it's mad. So let's go back to our tests one more time, and we're going to see things are very mad, and we got to figure out why. So if we go, I was hoping that by putting the validation constraints on things, this would have not happened. Oh, I think another uniqueness constraint we could probably do is that event name is unique by organization. I don't know if that's a good one, but you know what? We'll talk about it when I get back in just a minute. Food. All right, I'm sorry with all the breaks today. Being a solo dog dad has its deficits with being a streamer, apparently. So, I'm sorry. You get to deal with this today. But I like you all, and I'm glad you're here with me. So, we're going to keep going, and we're going to figure out how to fix these things. The thing I said before was with event, maybe we should make sure name is unique. I'm going to say no for now. This might be one of those like, yes, we should fix this later. This is important. But we're going to ignore that for now. So we're just going to fix the ones that we did. Now, what I was hoping when I did this validate thing, these runtime errors were going to turn into not runtime errors. And that didn't work out so well. So we're going to have to figure out why and then go back and fix it. So in this one, it's complaining about active record not unique. So if we go to the platform organization controller test, right? So if we come in here, why would this care about the event speakers? Because this isn't even called in here. Now, what I think, okay. So we're finding something interesting here. This is failing. This is a runtime exception. I was hoping, I'm not making the same mistake I made last week. So we're learning from our mistakes. So when I put in our validation, this shouldn't be a runtime. This should have been a validation error, which is why I was very confused by this. So we're reading our error a bit more. And if we look down just low enough, I saw it somewhere right here, insert fixtures. This is failing when it's trying to do fixtures with uniqueness constraints. So we're finding our first rub with fixtures that I didn't realize was going to exist. So now we got to figure out why this is happening and fix it, because this runtime exception is happening because fixtures just get inserted to the database, but don't deal with the fact that I am putting uniqueness on them. So let's just see what's happening with this. So Rails fixtures, and then we're going to do this. Get an error while running a test in case. Okay, but since you provided additional information, sometimes G model, also this happens. The error is obviously a database constraint on users. Somewhere in your code, you create two users with the same email, most likely in fixture fragment. Be sure to not do that. Have you deleted the users from the test database? Do you have to do that? Basically, you need to clean up the test database between each test. This is what I think is actually happening. That's what I'm worried about. So what I think is happening is every time a test is run, it's creating, it's always, so what I was hoping was happening with fixtures is it just created a bunch of data before the entire test suite ran. But I think what's actually happening is after each test, what's actually happening is it's creating it. So if we go to our test helper real quick, set up fixtures in your test fixtures for all tests in alphabetical order. So let's just look at like Rails fixtures config. And what we want is there's something about all somewhere. So since fixtures are a testing construct, we use them in our unit and functional tests. There are two ways to use fixtures, but let's take a look at an example unit test, okay? By default, test helper will load all of your fixtures into your database, so this will succeed. I'm happy about that. The testing environment will automatically load all fixtures into the database before each test. So this is what's screwing us up here. The uniqueness constraints are kind of persistent because every time we run a test, these are getting loaded in. So they run to ensure consistent data. The environment deletes the fixtures before running the load. Okay, that's good. So maybe one of our fixtures does have a problem. So event speakers, event ID. So if we go to event speakers, fixtures, who spotted the mistake? Who spotted it? I did. I didn't put email on these speakers. Whoopsie. That's all that's missing. I think. We'll see how right I am in like a minute. So, I don't actually need the commas. Ha. Okay, so if we do this and try again, do we get the same constraint? Hey! We're happy. We didn't have to rewrite anything. Our uniqueness constraint took hold and our tests are good. Now, let's step back a minute. We got our uniqueness. We handled exactly what I said we would do. We did 3 and we did 4. We have these validations. It's not full name. We ended up saying, actually, not full name, but email, because that was smart. What we did works, but I did something that was arguably a code smell and a behavioral change. And I'd be remiss if I didn't, share what I did wrong and why it's wrong. So when I tried to go run this uniqueness constraint, what I ended up doing is I hit a validation error right away. If y'all remember that. It's probably because I created some bad data or somebody was doing something. This is a real world problem you have to be aware of. When you're creating new records and new events inside of your data and actually putting them in, you need to be aware that if you ever need to put a uniqueness constraint, this could be damning to clean up. Now, the good news is we're not in production. This is just me. I have full control over everything and every decision. And so this wasn't a problem. So like when I roll this out for real, this problem's completely gone. We don't have to worry about it, which is great. But this isn't something that you want to be doing on the regular. And if you do it, how can you roll this out successfully? Well, the answer is you have to go find every single grouping of duplicate records by the uniqueness constraints that you set. So basically you need to go run a query that's like, all right, find me, I think the query is something like select star from, in this case, so let's say we were doing event sessions, right? So event session is our table. We need to find, we need to group this thing, group by event ID and name, having count greater than 1. And this is what we want to return. And the reason we want to do this is this will give us any single version of these records that has more than 1. And then we have to go fix them one at a time. And we have to decide, do we delete this? Do we keep this? Do we modify it? How do we fix it? So I think in a case of like, hey, these sessions and everything need to be unique, we'd have to go through and we'd probably write a script that said, okay, do the same query, but now this time when you go through it, for each record after the first record that was created, sort it by created date or whatever, go append the name with a 2 or a 3 and just keep incrementing that. So you know how, like, actually this is kind of a fun way to do this. So like, let's go to my my desktop for a second, right? Because I don't keep much on it. So let's go keep this. Oh God, how am I going to keep this open and show you what I'm trying to do? Kind of want to do this at the same time. Actually, let's do it this way. All right, let's just say I wanted to do a new folder test. Let's say I put another new folder and I tried to call it test. This isn't happy with me. It's like, hey, no, you can't do that. Or think about going to the internet and downloading a file. The first time you download it, it's file name, and then the second time you download it, it's file name with the 1 in parentheses. This is specifically to avoid this exact problem. So this is something we'll have to think about and something you would have to think about as you were building. But because, again, we're still in the build phase and we're not in the production phase, like, cool, we're done. We finished 1 through 4. So let's go do 5 now. Let's go have fun and do 5. So let's go look at our UI. We haven't looked at it in quite some time, and we probably also need to run the server. I'm taking a bite of food, so give me a second. I'm not going to eat on camera. I'm not that rude. So let's go load our UI. We haven't been here in a while. Looks like we got signed out. Let's just sign in with the developer account. And as we can see, we're logged in. We have our data. Now, I mentioned earlier that we had a bug where, let's just say, connect. I'm gonna create a new entity in our database because I think that'll be helpful for doing what we want to do here. So let's create a new console, and let's just make a new event. All right. I'm going to say the event's name is, let's call it ReactConf 2024 because we actually had one this year. And let's say the platform organization, or let's get the platform organization. So org is platform organization, fine ReactConf. And that didn't work. That's not going to work because it's find by name is ReactConf. So did that actually give me an org with an ID? No, it didn't. What is org? Is org nil? Org is nil. So is it, did I call it ReactConf? What did I call it? Platform. Oh, I might not have created this. Haha, I didn't create it. All right, so we're going to go ahead and do that first. So find or create, and we're going to call it, the name is going to be just ReactConf because why not? So now we have this ReactConf data, right? Now let's go ahead and say our event platform organization is the org that I just made. And let's just see what else is missing from the validations so we can just quickly knock this guy out. My guess is I'm missing quite a few things. So, okay, so start at, let's say, was 1 day from now. I know it was like last week, but we just, you know, I don't want to deal with bypassing validation again. So event indat is, let's say, 3 days from now. And then let's just go through our valid checks one more time. And then if we just say event.save is unhappy because I need different constraints and whatnot. So we got to do, you know, time zone, and that could be, let's just go copy stuff from an event I made. Event. Here we go. American, New York. We could do event venue type. It's set to in person, but let's just say this was an online one for, you know, kicks. And then let's just see what happens if I hit save this time. This time it's upset because I need the registration start at registration. So there's more validations we should probably be adding to our model here. And again, I'm just kind of quickly burning through this to just get it done, but this is not the right way to be building this. I also just love how easy it is to do Rails syntax. Like how clean was that to like do dates, like 1 day from now? Like, isn't that just cool that you could do that and it's actually a correct value? I don't know. I think that's pretty slick. One of the reasons I like Ruby. I know I saw somebody doing something to try to introduce the same concept in like JavaScript. I think it was, I want to say it was Ryan Florence. It might have been Ben Lesh. I think it was Ryan Florence. But like, this would be cool. I'll take it. Give me a date library like this and I'll be a happy man. But I want it to be native. I don't want to have to install like a 10 megabyte library just to get stuff like this. All right, so if I come back to my UI now, and if I do a quick refresh, you'll see that I don't actually have that showing up right now like I said it would. And that's because my user, so if I get user first is, I don't know, what's your email? Yeah, okay, so I got the right user, luckily. I didn't want to go mess with it. So if I do user platform organizations, if I want to push on the new org I made, I could do this and then just do user save. And now when I re-render, you'll see, hey, here's React Conf, but we're in the context of Connect Tech. And what is my current organization, right? So if I go look at the user platform organization, oh, it's user current platform organization, right? It's React Conf. So really what I could go do to fix this, right? If I go to my events controller and I say, okay, let me just change this to only get the current organization platform, right? So what I could do instead is current user that current platform organization, and in this case it's just going to be an ID, and we could just pass that exact line here, not happily, but we'll put it there. And what we're going to see when we refresh, we only get React Conf. Great, this is what we wanted. But what we're missing here is I really want to be able to go see Connect Tech again. How do I get back to Connect Tech? I've effectively disrupted this behavior and prevented this from being possible. So this is the feature we're going to go do. We're going to make it so somewhere in this UI, probably next to this logout button, there's a drop-down menu, and that drop-down menu is going to let me switch between this and the other page. So how are we going to do it? First off, we're going to figure out where the logout button is because I have no idea. Okay, it's in our application ERB. And I think this is probably an okay place to put it. I don't love it because we have to assume we're on this page. So let's think of if this is the right place to do it or not. Because it's been a minute since I've done Rails UIs, and this is where my knowledge is getting a little funky. So the application HTML is going to be it's going to work for all pages here. Now I could create a second layout that's specific for these event pages that would allow for the behavior. And so this is like our event admin. Now we've only built that side of house now, so I kind of don't want to mess with that. So we're going to leave that alone. But now I really only want this to exist though on I'm going to want it in our nav because it's going to be one of those things where like, hey, let's figure out where this user is in the application. So I think what we need to do is we're going to build it right here. This is probably not the best place to build it, and the way I'm about to build it is probably the worst way to build it. But we're going to do it. So what we can do is we can get the current user, and we can just get their, we probably don't have a name, but let's just get the email because we do have that. So if I do this, all of a sudden we can say, hey, we know who the current user is. We're pretty happy with that. And let's go ahead, let's make this, let's put this in a div. We're going to do a little bit of div soup here because we're going to put some more stuff in here. So this is the who am I, right? And the answer is local test. And we can make who am I better by putting it, in strong. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to find out, okay, what org is this, right? And what we want to do is we want to make this the current platform organization .name. And what we're going to find is, hey, we've got this. Now, we also want to do some styling here, and I guess I should probably I'm going to just call it user info for now. This is bad CSS structuring, and I'm going to be the first to admit it, but I'm just trying to get it. So user info, and basically what I want is everything. Well, honestly, I don't know if I even need to do that yet. I think I just need to put these in divs inside of here. And when I do that, now this is one unit. And now I can see, hey, what org am I in? And now what I want to do is I want to create what I'm going to call basically a switcher. Now, let's see how people recommend doing it, right? Rails, actually, organization switcher. Let's see what they recommend. Changing Rails UI for changing context for user. I don't know. Yeah, that's not going to work super well. Okay, well, let's think about how we would do it otherwise. So what I would basically want to do here is I would want to basically say what orgs can I see, right? You almost want this to be a line, and in here, and we're just gonna kind of do it this way. What we're gonna say is we want to do exactly what it gave me. I want to see what every single organization that this user can see. Now, there's a problem here. This is expensive. It's not atrociously expensive because I wrote it to not be atrociously expensive, but effectively what's going to have to happen is I'm going to have to get my user. I'm going to have to get all of its organizations and then iterate over them. This is not very cheap. In fact, this is probably not the recommended way to do what I just did. What you would want to do is you would want to do as much prefetching and handling of all of your data as humanly possible at the beginning here. Fortunately, I can't do that right now. But also part of the reason is this is inefficient. And it's because we don't have the ID reference. So what we could optimize this if we knew what our current ID was. So something we're going to want on, we're going to write another migration is kind of where I'm leading us right now. We need to know, we need to be able to switch, and we need to be able to make it so we can switch. So what we're going to do is if we go to our schema for a second, our user doesn't currently have anything that we can really use as a field for this. And so what we want to do is we want to write a new migration. Bin Rails DB migration. And what we want to do is add platform organization to user. And it's really add the current one. So, hey, let's actually say that. Add current platform organization to user. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to go open that migration file. And this is going to be an add reference. And it's going to be from user to platform. We're going to let this be mostly right. Actually, we don't want a reference because not every user is going to have it, but we do want to add a foreign key to users called current. Let's restart this. Add foreign key, users, platform organization, current platform organization ID. This is exactly what we want. So what this is going to do is we're going to effectively cache what the current user's organization is on their record. By default, this will be null. But once we do this, we can go into our user record and you can see that it has many platform organization user has many. Oh, yes, it has many platform organizations through platform organization users and platform organizations. But we could say has one current platform organization, and we can actually just do literally everything that it just gave us to show you all what it's trying to do. It's specifying which class it belongs to, what the primary key in our database is, and what the foreign key is actually referenced as. And this should allow us to just grab it. Now we don't, this is not really what we want. Let's see. Is it maybe Rails? Reference object in another table without relationship? What's the recommendation? That's not what we're looking for. Rails object or Rails model has reference to another table without defined inverse relationship, which are not reference active query. Where? No, that's not it. Foreign key to a different table does not reverse. No, not what we're. Let's talk to Copilot again this week. Let's have chat. I am creating a relationship from user to platform organization on a single value, but there is already a many-to-many relationship for user to platform organizations. How can I denote this in my model? Let's see what Copilot says. So Copilot's saying you can denote them as has one. So you can denote this in your model by using both has many and has one associations. The has many association will represent the many to many, while the has one will be what I'm looking for. So everything is good here, except for this last one. This last one's optional. Let me see if that fixes our problem. Okay, that might fix our problem here, which is great. Now, remember, we had this method here that was trying to find this, and this is the same name. This method doesn't work anymore. I basically just killed this method. We'll see if it works. But let's go ahead and do our bin Rails DB migrate. I also probably should go commit a bunch of stuff before I keep doing this. So let's go clean stuff up. Hey, Sony, what are you complaining about, girl? Move faker to be available for seeding. This is just this is Rubocop. This is what we were just doing. Okay, so we're gonna do this one commit at a time, actually. So let's go. We did uniqueness to event session first because that was the easier one. So add uniqueness to event session. And then we're gonna say here, and we'll check in the schema this time. This is the add uniqueness to event speaker. And then we're going to grab everything else. And we're just gonna make sure this is everything we wanted and not the new stuff we were just doing. Okay, so this is going to be clean up, add missing keys and validations. All right, and now what we're gonna go do, we're gonna grab Heartbound soundtrack and restart it. And we're going to come back here and we're going to say, okay, let us continue. Undefined method belong to, and this is mad because it's not that word, it's that word. I'm curious what this is about. Rubocop, Rails, inverse of. I haven't seen this rule before. So what's going on? If you don't explicitly specify the inverse relationship, Rails does its best to infer the inverse association on a model. at least for has many, has one, belongs to associations, using the class name as the basis for its guesses. But anytime you use a scope or set non-standard naming, you need to explicitly tell Rails how to navigate the association of inverse. Well, we don't have an inverse. So I guess this would just be... This doesn't have an inverse. So how do you recommend fixing it if the inverse doesn't exist? Can't automatically determine the inverse. Would cause blog to be loaded from the database inverse of must be manually specified for active record to use associated object in memory or set false to opt out. Oh, okay. So I can explicitly say opt out. But I think what's helpful here... Well, no, this isn't going to help. So we just need to do an opt out. So how do you do an opt out? Inverse of do. See, that doesn't really work for us because we have a blog. This is interesting because we don't have an inverse in this relationship. Like when I call, if I go from a platform organization to user, that doesn't work. It only works through this relationship. So this relationship doesn't actually have it. So we need to do, we don't want to do it. So we can just say inverse of false and just do it that way. Now, what would be nice is making this so I can actually read everything on screen. So we're going to just do that. Can't say this is the prettiest thing I've ever written, but that should work. So if we do a db migrate here, what's going on is, okay, let's temporarily get rid of this. Let's just make sure the migration works on its own, right? And this is saying that unknown column, current platform and foreign key definition. So if we go to the migration now, which is this one. So if we go add foreign key from users to platform organizations, okay, this is why. We need to add a column to users. Here, let's see if we do it this way. Add foreign key column to table Rails. Adding foreign key to a Rails model. So you can add a foreign key, add a reference. Aha, here we go. For Rails 4, or if you're adding a new column and want it to be a foreign key, you can do this where you probably also want to specify the index is true, but that's not part of the requirement of the key. Yes, this is actually what we want. So we want this syntax, where we're going from users to platform organizations. We don't want to index it. We do want to do it this way. So let's find add reference. And we wanted to do add reference with a custom name. So we want to add a polymorphic associations. This is a little closer to what we want. Slightly more events with some associated polymorphic. With polymorphic association, the model can belong to more than one other model. That's not exactly what we're looking for. It's close, but it's not what we're looking for. What we really want is we want a foreign key. We want a foreign key that does something else. Okay, so add reference Rails. Let's see what we can find. So when we do add reference, we can do a reference. So we can say what the reference is, if it has a thing, what the index name is. What happens if I want We're going to allow null. So null is true. We're going to allow all of these to be true. Now, the thing what we want is we want to name the column, though. Type, in our case, though. So here, let's keep going until we get this right. So in this case, we need type is a string because these are going to be strings. We don't need an index. We do want the foreign key. In case the join can't be inferred from the association, pass to table with the appropriate table name. Aha. So current platform organization table to table. Okay, add reference to table rails. Let's go find it. It says to do it, but to table. So add reference, foobar store, foreign key. Aha, that's what we're looking for. So in here, our foreign key isn't stores, but it's going to be platform organizations. So I think if we do all of that, we'll see if this works or not. Let's run the migrate. Hey, that looks promising. Let's go see what our schema looks like after that change. So we got a new date, and now it says inside, hopefully, of our user table, we have a new string called current platform organization. This is what we wanted. And it added a foreign key from users to platform organizations with the column name current platform. This is everything we wanted and more. So we're really happy now. So now I think we can actually put this in. So if we go run our console, let's just grab our first user. This is the user we want, right? So user equals underscore. Oh, that's a cool trick I haven't used yet, but if you just need the last value from the Rails terminal, you can just do this underscore and it'll just give me this, which is really neat. It's like a nice little developer tools trick. But if I do current platform organization, I get React conf, which I shouldn't be getting. And it's because it's being overridden by this method. So if I comment that out, do a reload, and, you know, go do a couple things. Now, if I call it, we're going to see that this is super duper unhappy. Why? So this is saying user current platform organization, no such column, platform organizations, current platform organization ID. That is correct. It's probably because this is ID and this is the foreign key. So I could probably just get rid of that and that. So I could probably leave all of that alone and do a reload now. And we go get our first user. Cool. This is what we expected. This is nil. This is correct. This is nil. Right? Now, if I go add my method back and let's reload our console, I want to show you what happens when we think this exists and it's not. So it is overriding it because it's overriding the behavior of the relationship because we name them the same. Right? So remember when I did like the org thing earlier? This would be a way around that. This is not what I want though, and I don't actually need this method anymore. We have made this method effectively obsolete, which is really cool. So now when I go user first, user current platform organization, we get nil. So if I come back to our event platform page, when I actually have the server running, we're going to see some cool stuff. Might have also noticed that I called this org ID and I didn't rename it. That's because this is scoped to this example. This is fine. This is something I would recommend doing time and time again. Okay, so now if we refresh, reload, our guy is unhappy because there is no ID. So what we can do is in our events controller, we need to get the org ID. So our organization ID is going to be the current user platform organization, right? But this is possibly nil. So what we really need to do is we kind of want to write kind of a ternary. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the organization, which is the user's current organization, right? We're also going to spell it correctly. Organization. And what we're going to say here is this is going to be the organization. If there is an organization ID. If not, well, actually, no, we're going to do better than that. If organization is nil, this is going to just set events to nothing. And otherwise, we can go ahead and make it. I'm just trying to make this a little cleaner to read. There's no strong reason to do it this way. Oh, and I forgot you could do this in Ruby like that, which is kind of handy. So now when I go and refresh, undefined method name for nil class, and it's because if y'all remember, I did a bad and I put stuff in line in our application template. So like this is possibly null, right? So what we really want to do is I'm trying to remember. Does Ruby have a double? I don't remember if this is an operator or not, and I'm trying to remember. I think it's just a JavaScript one, and I haven't programmed Ruby in so long that's like, yep, you can't do that. What are you thinking? It's got ternaries. It's got defined, dot and colons, precedence. Does Ruby have an optional accessor like JS? I think the answer is, oh, actually that works. We can just do try. We just literally just put a try there. And that's kind of cool. So what we could do is we could just try this. And I think try has, I think it has a catch kind of automatically in it. And I love that that's how I decided to get to this. So it's like try to do the block. Let's see, Ruby default to try. That returns a default if try. Oh, no, you just literally put not assigned. That's how you do it. I just don't remember how to do it. Okay, what org is this? No org found. That's better. Okay, so like we're not in an org and I can't see what org I'm in. But let's say now I wanted to see an org, right? Because, you know, it's kind of not helpful to not be able to do things. So if I do user equal user dot first, get our guy here, and we say platform organizations dot first, and this is org. And if I say user dot current platform organization, right? And let's say I just set that equal to this org here. That won't do anything because I didn't hit save. Now when I hit save, it's like, yep, we're good. And now I can see RubyConf. And that's really flippin' sweet. And now I can like switch between my organizations pretty quickly. All right. I was thinking about it a little more. I know how we're going to solve this. Ruby has something really stupid cool. So this is what orgs can I see. But what happens if this was just a switcher? Well, I can do this. And the way I can do it is I can do a link to. And honestly, this was trying to do what I wanted. So It's not exactly what I wanted, but it's pretty darn close because this isn't going to work verbatim. And it's not working because of this switch thing. But effectively what I've been able to do here is what this is allowing me to do from Ruby's perspective is I could do a post method that says, hey, for this organization, go ahead and post a request to this URI and handle it. So on our users controller, which we haven't built yet, we don't actually have a users controller, right? What we're going to do is we're going to make our users controller for starter. And that users controller is going to say, it's going to have a platform switching mechanism in it, right? We'll also need to have more functionality in that, but for now, that's good enough. So let's go ahead and do that. So if we do bin rails g migration, or no, not migration, controller user, I think this will do it. Let's see if it did what I wanted. So if I open up my user controller, I think I wanted users. I did want users. So that didn't work exactly like I wanted. So we're gonna go ahead and just fix that real fast. So it's not this. So let's get rid of these guys and this one because those are the ones I don't want. Okay. So before we move on though, what we can do is we can go ahead and say, we can actually commit these changes. What's even better is that unit test that I wrote before is still broken, but it's going to start working. So let's wait till we're finished with our feature. So it's users because Rails is actually kind of specific about this type of stuff. So let's go to our users controller and you're going to see it's empty right now. And if we go to our routes, we're going to see it's not even routed to. So what we want to do is, did I make an OmniAuth controller? Oh, that's right. So we're gonna undo this one more time, and we're actually gonna do something even kind of cheekier, even, because I like the idea of what I'm about to do. We're gonna just build by hand this time. Or actually, no, we're not gonna build by hand, but we are going to do this. So this is saying we made a controller called users OmniAuth callbacks, and this was something specific to make OmniAuth work. What we're going to do now is we're going to make a controller that's specifically about organization user management from the perspective of a user. So what we're going to do is we're going to do users/platform organizations. And we're going to end up using this later to allow us to create more awesomeness. So what I mean by that is, like, we want to build some oh yeah, I never saved this because we never needed it. So what we're going to want to do here at some point is we're going to want to be able to, like, add and remove users, let users leave their own organization. So, like, we're going to have a few options here, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to kind of create our first custom, like, how I want to deal with this thing. So this could also be a fun endpoint for later if, like, we needed to get the platform organizations for a specific user. So, like, this could be, you know, get users, user ID, platform organization. Like, we could do this as an index method, and this would be great if we needed a REST API. We're not going to do that though. What we're going to do is we're going to create a profile switcher, right? So this is going to be change current organization. And this is going to be okay. And so what we want to do here is, let's see if this is what we want. So it takes the current platform organization ID that's getting passed in, or the new one, and it's taking the current user, and we're updating their current platform organization to be the organization that we set, and then redirecting to root path is not what we want. We want to redirect back. It's like back or default, I think. I forget if that's actually supported Ruby or not. But we're going to try it. And now what we can do is if we go to our routes here. So what we can now do is resources. Or I guess it's scope. Rails routing. It's been a minute. I haven't done this. So let's look at Rails routing from the inside out. In fact, okay, for now, we're just going to do this the very explicit way. So right now, we just need a post method. So we're going to do post on user. It's almost all of this. It's going to be, we don't want the ID there. Do we? Do we want it there? I think this is actually what we want. We can always rename the nomenclature later, and that's the nice part. But all this is going to be fine. So now what we can do is we come back to our application where this was complaining that this method doesn't exist and just change the path. If we do this, everything's fine. So now, watch this right here. Oh, come on. I was so close. Routes match in priority from top down. Change. Oh, haha. I'll tell you why this didn't work. When you change routes, they don't automatically get picked up like everything else. So that is something that does kind of require a server change. No route matches get. This isn't a get though. This should be a post. So let's check out what's happening real quick. I have a feeling if I come into our platform or controller inside of users, if I put a debugger right here, I bet you we got to here. And this hasn't been a problem. So if we come back, we do a refresh, and we do this, it is actually saying no route found. Link to Rails post. This used to be a thing. Link to profile path, method post. Okay. Link to name, change current org path, method post. So if we come back to our action and we search for our path here, it's saying this does match the post that I was looking for. So this definitely exists, but it's trying to do a get action instead of a post action. So I think I fat fingered something. In the form field, you can't. So if on the other hand you meant query parameters, then this will work. Link to profile, profile path, method is post. Note that if the user has JS table or you have removed the unobtrusive JS libraries that come by default, link to will silently be submitted as a... Yep, okay, here's where we are. In general, I'm not a fan of having links that perform post. I think that's the role of a form and a button. Thus, an easier and safer alternative is to use the Rails button helper. Also supports method option, but it defaults. Okay, let's do it. I like that. I agree with what this person said. I ain't angry with it. Let's do what they say. So, these are now buttoned. We can talk about styling later. But now you can see we did a post request. It's stuck because it hit our debugger. And it's mad because the backer default didn't work. Because I think I remember this existing, but I think we might have written a custom one. I have a okay, from here to pass parameters redirect to you simply add them like Redirect back is deprecating Rails 5. What to use instead? Yes, this is what I'm looking for. Yes, the redirect to function doesn't accept back as an argument in Rails 5. It has been replaced by a newly improved function, redirect back. So redirect back gives us a thing. So maybe what I can do now is, instead of all this, redirect fallback location. That all seems reasonable to me. So if we go and we refresh events here, notice that we're at Connect Tech now. And if I do React Conf now, boom, check that out. Now we have a proper switcher, and I've barely written any code today. I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty sweet. So, we've done all this. Let's go see what our test suite looks like now. Well, good news, bad news. Some of it is very correct. Some of it is very much failing now. So, where are we at right now? So user test, for instance. User test. So we have done a thing, and we have made an assumption here that the user's local, their current test is going to be Connect Tech, and we are expecting that. This is failing now because we kind of assumed that's what it would be. The quick fix for this is we just go fix our fixtures. So the current platform organization is now just Connect Tech. And so when I go run all of our user tests, what we're going to find today, Ben Rails test, the user model, everything passes instantly because we have simplified everything about this. Now, one would argue that because it's a relationship test, I'm now just testing the framework, and I would agree with that person. This test just became deprecated as far as I'm concerned. We verified it, it works. We don't really need to change anything about it. So we're gonna delete what we're gonna call a bad test. So that's super easy. Now let's just kind of go simplify a lot more things, and let's go run the test suite one more time, and let's see what's still failing. So platform organization controller test, and we're making sure that this is the platform organization controller, not the other one with a similar name. Yeah, so if you look at this, undefined method email for nil class, right? So what this is saying is in the platform organization test, we don't have email for nil. If we go to platform organization controller test, we should have had a login somewhere in here. And we didn't. And I don't know why. This is definitely going to require login. So we probably just have a failure at this level. And the answer is, if we go look at our events controller, it's probably because it inherits from admin controller. And admin controller would probably make this test fail quite miserably in a very different way. And had I gone back and I seen it, now what we can do is, if we go through the whole pundit setup, or not the pundit setup, the test setup, where we actually log in a user, my guess is this is going to work all of a sudden, because this thing makes a pretty glaring assumption. Now we're down to one failing test, and it's the destroy, and it's because there's a foreign key constraint failed, which is when I tried to destroy this. Okay. This is actually an important one. And this one would argue for us undoing the migration we just did to add an index. So so we actually do want the index here. I lied. So we're gonna be good bad people. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a DB rollback, and Now we're going to re-add it. And when we go launch our app again, what we're going to see is when I log in, I'm not going to see anything because I don't have an org. But then when I go to just connect tech or React Conf, everything is dandy. And we're able to fix that super quick as a user, much faster than we could have coded it. Now, why do we need this index? Well, we need this index because there is a cleanup task that needs to happen. And the cleanup task is actually on the platform organization model, which is we need to do a before destroy. Now, we read something about before action, before destroy Rails, about this needing to be done, I believe, before relationships, but this is showing it after. So we will do this. We'll do this the way I think we should. So we can just do before destroy. Oh, aha, here it is. This before destroy callback should be placed before dependent destroy associations, or use the prepend true option to ensure they execute before the records are deleted. So yeah, so we'll do a before destroy. Unset users. Current organization. Unset users. Or it's not unassign users is the wrong way to put this. It's when we're effectively what we're trying to do is when we clean it, we need to go to users. We need to find all the users that had this platform organization as their current ID and do kind of a bulk update all to remove their current user ID, current organization ID. So clear users current organization. That's, and then we're going to just say prepend true, just to make sure this happens correctly. Now what we can do is in the private scope, because we don't want people just doing this willy-nilly, what we can do is we can do better than this. What we can do is we can get the users update all and set their current record to nil. But it's not just users. It's users where the current organization ID is self.id. Or in this case, we could just do current organization is self and then just do a mass update all like that. Now this is complaining because avoid using update call because it skips validations. This is actually a case we want to skip validations. This is good, right? Now, let's see what RuboCop actually suggests instead, because I like this. I actually think this is exactly what we want. But it might be right, and I might be wrong tonight. Like the here we go. I like the pages because they actually kind of explain what they're doing. So skip, wait, no, that's not what I want. Skip model, okay, I guess. The cop checks for the usage of methods which skip validations which are listed in the guide. Update attributes, maybe? Users where update attribute. And maybe we could do it this way. Avoid using update attribute because okay. It's not attribute, but attributes. And the question is, does update work on all? Because this is a question I have. This is important. So let's go do just like a quick, let's go play with it for a second. See where we can get. So if we get platform organization first, and let's just call that the org, and let's just get the users right now. And is that the same as our current org is the question. Org ID is the other one. So let's go ahead and just quickly switch this user back to React Conf. We'll have to fix that. That's a good bug for us to go correct. So we've kind of put anything that's in the admin namespace. We need to change that application controller to actually be the admin controller view, because otherwise a lot of this code doesn't work. So it's really in our app. We can go fix it real fast though, because we should fix it. So anywhere like this whole block right here is if there is a current user. So this is basically like if current user, we can do the rest of this. Otherwise, like no bueno, this won't work. It'll crap out on the OAuth page. But really what we should do is move this to a different application controller. So we're in React Conf. This is good. So we do org users and we do our org ID. So if we do our query here, like I was starting to play with in here, if we do org.users, right? And if we do where current organization is the org, we're getting what looks like an error. Looks like it got everything I wanted. But because I have the ID, I probably just can do it this way. And it might be a bit better. I don't know. This is mad because of that. You know what? Let's try it. But can I run? The last question is, can I run this method? And this is saying no. Because current organization, no such column on users, and it's because users isn't what I wanted it. Okay, so validation safe update all Ruby. Okay, so if I wanted to do it, it wants me to find each. Update all is faster, and honestly, for the use case that we're going for, this is actually clean. So this is going to be one of those, we want to just disable Rubocop for line. This is going to be the first time we want to just like disable this rule by line. So on a line per line, you can enable and disable the cops as well. This is a long line. You can also do more than one block at a time by using the inline directive. Okay, so what we can do is here, the rule we want to ignore is Rails skip validations. So we're just going to disable that one validation on this one line. And we're going to, make it a little easier to read. So we're going to skip this particular line. And the reason we're going to do that is because update all is just going to quickly just do a database update. There is no validation for this field. And it's only, the other thing we're doing here is we're making sure that we're only clearing this for the users that have their current organization set to the organization that's being deleted. That way we're like, the worst case scenario here, right, is an organization gets deleted from the database, and all of a sudden they have no data here. They're on the empty state, and we have to go default them back to their other record. I don't know if that's something we want, but that organization got deleted, and that could be just like a notification. But now we can like quickly do that. If we go, back to our test runner, run it. In theory, this should have been fine, but it's still upset because this destroy didn't work on line 17. And it's because maybe it was current Oh, you know why? It's not current organization. It's current platform organization ID. So good thing we ran our test, because our test actually caught a bug. And now we're good. So now this is going to fix the behavior we want. So if our, let's just say React Conf got deleted here, right? And we can actually do that. So if we go do platform organization, find by name is React Conf. We call that org. If we just do org.destroy, we can see that it went through and it did a lot of stuff here. And you can see all the transactions it did. When we refresh, you can see, hey, I don't have my organization. No org was found. And now it's trying to get me to go to Connect Tech. And now I can quickly do that. Now I can also go to my seeds here and be, I created all that stuff earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we're just going to call it Connect Tech org. And then we're going to do React Conf org. And that's just going to be exactly this. We will add our user to both. And we will also give it one event, but it doesn't need any sessions because we're going to decide it doesn't have any sessions for now because that'll be fun for us. So now we can do all of these. Event sessions is just an empty array. And now we can say, we said this would be React Conf 2024. We'll just say React rules. We said this was in 2024, so let's just go ahead and set it to 2024. Just change these dates to 2024. We know all this is lies and deceit, but not what we want, not what we care about right now. And we're just say it's online, even though we know it was in person. And now, bin rails db seed. We refresh. It's got Connect Tech twice because we just created Connect Tech twice. Why did it do that? Platform finder create by name, Connect Tech. Finder create by name. Yeah, that's interesting. It should have found that bin rails db reset. Let's go deal with our event. Now, I think the argument is that our seeds are wrong, not our data, but that's fine. We can deal with it. So here, let's log back in. Local at test.com. And we can see, yeah, so our seed's not idempotent like we thought it would be. Which, that's not good. That's not good at all. I don't know why our seed is not idempotent, because this literally should be an idempotent finder create, but it's not doing it that way. Oh. Connect Tech user save React Conf. No, this is correct. Now, maybe what we should do instead is we should flip this around and just say user.platformorganizations is Connect Tech org, and then user should be React Conf org, and then current plat could be that, and then save, and maybe that would be a safer, that might be the safer script here. So if we go log in, sign up, local at test.com, we're still getting double. Why are we getting double? Do we actually have double? Platform organization.count is 2. All right, we got a buggo. Who's our buggo? What's our buggo? So here's our first. Actually, how many users do we have? User count. We have 2. So user last is the one we wanted. So here's our user. User dot platform organizations. It says 2. It says 2 there. So why are there 4 buttons? So the user has 2. There are 2 conferences and 2 things. So if we go to our application, and in here we said, if we go through their platform organizations, for each organization, create the button. Okay, now we got a weird rendering issue, and I don't know why. Let's kill the server real quick. This might just be like a server memory issue because it was holding on to bad data. Because there's no way that should have been a thing. Okay, apparently that's a thing. If you reset your database, restart your server. It was holding a connection to an old file. So yeah, now we're good in terms of what this is supposed to be doing. But as you can see, we're not actually getting our conferences, or our sessions. And we're not getting our sessions because sessions is events.each, find the event by the org. So we need to fix this, is kind of what's happening now. So I've been bad. So each event needs to have its platform organization set. So this one is going to have the platform organization ID can be connecttech.org. And we do that for anything else from here that says connecttech. So if we just go put our line, that'll take care of that. And then for react.conf, this one just becomes react.conf.org. And then everywhere we have, we're just going to kill that real quick. So instead of this is going to be the events platform organization ID. And nothing else about this should be fishy. So if we do a DB reset, we do a Rails, we reload, we log in. Okay, something's still not right here. So what's not right? If we go to here, we do event session.count. We should see more than 4, but hey, we got them all. So let's see what all the names are. What do we got? That's because I wanted the events. The events, there's 8 of them. If we do this, but with event, we're good. If we go event all and we get the platform organization ID. If we go platform organization all map ID, these align. Okay, so we found a new issue, which maybe our test suite will tell us. This will be a fun, quick confirmation. Do our tests tell us that anything's wrong? And the answer is platform organization test should create platform organization is failing because it's redirecting. Not the end of the world for us. Oh, you know why I'm so perplexed? I was on the wrong page. If I was on the right page the whole time, that wouldn't have been a bug. So we're good through here. We can see events, we can create events. Everything's organized. We need to fix this one test real quick. So platform organization controller test. This one is mad on the create platform organization. And it's mad because this is assuming that it can just grab the last one, but that's not true. So what we need to do is we just need to set name to this, and then we can just do a find by name like that. And assuming that's all good, we're closer. So now we have event test. Event test model saying that time zone needs to be set somewhere. So this is validates date, right? Validates date needs to have apparently time zone. Who would have thunk it? Okay. And this is probably going to fail a few other validations now that I'm looking at it. So let's go ahead and try to fix this fast. But first one's going to be time zone. American New York, I think, would be good enough for our test. So if we run this test, this failed a not null constraint on events start at. Event test 26. Cert not. Event save. Not null constraint failed. Event start at. Well, yeah, I agree with that. If I didn't just foobar the whole thing. Haha. Okay, we're better. Now our tests are happy. This is why we should go fix our seeds right now rather than later. We're going to keep doing this to ourselves, and we're not even going to realize it. So let's go ahead and just do this now rather than later. So we were trying to do historical data because we were trying to be cheeky and cute and smart. And what we're learning is that doesn't work super duper well. So for these events, what we're going to have to do instead is let's just say, okay, this could be 3 months from now, and that's a good enough start date. And let's just specify it at beginning of day, and then I'll set the time because that'll just be handy. And then this can end 3 months from now, end of day. So it's a 1-day conference is what we're effectively going to say. And then for all these next ones, there's more validation we'll have to add, and we'll fix our seeds every time we do that, I think. But like now this one can be, instead of 3 months, this could be 1 year. And then we just kind of rinse and repeat every time we see dates. So this now becomes 2 years. And then we can go here, and this can be 3. And this one can be 4. And this one can be 5. And so forth and so on. And so all of a sudden we get a lot of rich testing, and we get good data. So, you know, we can do some really nasty things here, but we can also just keep it simple. Oh, this is the React comp. Let's just say this one's actually like one day from now and 2 days from now. Right, we'll have a 1 day and a 2 day. And this will just give us some variety that we can play with and do a lot of good seeding. So now our seeds are good. Now our tests are good. We have now allowed a user to also switch. So we have accomplished everything we sought out to do tonight, which is honestly kind of awesome. So now I can switch around. We've got good seeds. This is feeling like a pretty strong day, if you're asking me. So what else do we need to do? Okay, so we should go ahead and do a couple things. First one is we're going to come into our layout here, and we're going to make a new file called admin.html.erb. And we're going to copy and paste everything inside of there and put it in here. Admin is safe to assume that somebody is actually logged in. So we don't need any of this logic in here anymore. And the rest of this logic is safe. So now what we can do is anything in the admin controller, what we're going to just do is we're going to just say layout is admin. So now when I reload this page, you can see, hey, I don't have that. And when I go to my root, you're going to see that element's not there. Now I can go into our home page, our home controller here, and we can just quickly say layout is admin, and you'll see all that shows up all of a sudden. So this layout command lets me just quickly on the controller level decide which layout I'm using and where I want to see. So this will be really helpful for like the public facing side versus the private side, and allows us to do a lot more nicer controls, and we can do a lot more with styling now all of a sudden too. So this is super powerful. It makes our administration a little safer, our UI a little less janky, if I'm being honest, and I'm all about killing jank. So we destroyed that. So let's go ahead and let's do a quick like fixing of things, so to speak. So let's get our schema change, our migration file. We can get our fixture change, the user test itself, the changes to the user model, and what we can do here, just making sure I haven't missed anything, but we're going to say, actually, yeah, we are going to do more here. We're going to add the admin well, no, let's just do it like this. So add ability for user to know their current org. And then we're going to switch add admin layout and add org switcher to UI, because that's what we did. Now in here, what we're going to do is in the events controller, filter events by current user org. This is going to be fixing a bug. This is going to add some capabilities here that we really want. We should probably write a test for this, but we are not for right this minute because there might be better things we can do there. But now we can just say, okay, add controller to enable org switching. Oh, and then that route file actually should have been a part of that. So let's just do a quick, I know y'all can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just clicking the commit stage amend option that's off screen. Okay, and then in here, what do we do? We can actually ignore that change, but it's a nice like little formatter change. So we'll do some formatting here, but ooh, what's going on? Why are you taking forever? Oh, haha, that's why. File was open. Okay, next is going to be clear current org on users if org is deleted. Fix seeds to be idempotent. Not fully idempotent, but idempotent enough. fix platform controller to use admin context. And then let's go ahead and do some RuboCop. And we'll do a linting commit because we said we would do that. So let's go see what the offending files and problems are. So in our model user, this is upset because this is currently unreachable. And I think our quick fix for this is let's just comment it all out, right? And this was our previous implementation. That'll fix that one. If we go to our event RB line 15, this is RuboCop metrics ABC size. So let's see what this one's about. This cop checks that the ABC size of the method is not higher than the configure maximum. The ABC size is based on assignment, branch, method calls, and conditions. So if every branch condition size for blank is too high. So in our case, our create method, no, dates, is saying our condition's too high. And saying our condition was 25 out of 21. Which is interesting. And I guess it's because each of these counts. So there's an argument to be said that I should write one validation for all of the start dates and a validation for all of the indat and just kind of separate those out. That's a quick and dirty way to fix this, but I kind of like these because they're related and because there's this connection between these two fields. So this might be a situation where our ABC might just be too high. So I'm going to go ahead to our RuboCop and our RuboCop YAML, and let's see what our ABC says. It's saying 25. What happens if I just get rid of that? I'm just curious. It's probably going to be a lot angrier all of a sudden. So by default, it wants it to be 17. I'm going to go ahead and bump this up to 30 for now and see what happens. And maybe this is just my fix. And we're just going to go with it. So this is great. We're good. We just linted our whole thing. It's going to take a minute for this to pick up apparently. But everybody is looking happy and we finished everything we wanted to finish tonight. Fix linting and update RuboCop config. And we're going to push that up and we're going to be done with this for the night. But like, wasn't that awesome? Like I'm saying we're just going to be done for the night just because I promised a friend I would be hanging out with them in just a little bit. And that's important to me. Friendship's important. This is great stuff we can add next time and time's not permitting tonight. But what's great, but we did do this. So check it out. Check out all that we accomplished in kind of a relatively short stream tonight. Like we've got the org and the platform organization cleaned up. We fixed our controller tests. All our tests are passing. We've got validations on session and speaker working. And if we want to do organization switcher, like that wasn't a whole lot of code. I mean, like, honestly, I'd love somebody to like do this in, I'm going to call it out, Next.js. And I like to see what their implementation is for this. Like the answer is these should be server. It should be just an array of server actions that know how to call. And you could server render this. And like, this wouldn't be that bad in React now. Like this type of interface might be better in React. And that's okay. But I'm curious if somebody in like old SPA React would have tried to, you know, how do I describe this? Like they do these two things, but every single one of these is an Ajax request and all of the like structuring for that. I think, you know, I mean, I'm just going to say it. I think out loud, like this would have been a component that looked like, let's see, organization switcher, give or take. We're gonna try to just write this out, and let's assume this is a server component for craps, shits and giggles. So now we can do, so this is an async org switcher, so we could get, you know, organizations is, you know, let's just say this is DB organization find where, I don't know, user ID is whatever the current user's ID is. I'm sure we don't have this, but I'm sure it's something we could get. So like, let's just assume that's a thing. And then from the organizations, it would be return. Let's see. We would do, let's grab our admin. Let's actually grab what we did here and just convert it. So let's say this was it. So here's the orgs. Here's the div soup. So now what we need to do is we need to just change a couple of things here. So first is this becomes organizations map. Yep, I agree with that. So it goes through the organizations. It does the org. We get the LI. It's a button on click, change current organization. And yeah, that's pretty much the JavaScript code. And then the on click here would have to be, you know, function change the organization, right? And then it would be this, give or take. Now you would write a lot more service code. This is pretty clean. I'm going to give this to React. This makes it a lot better. And I don't dislike what this would have been in React. I think this is a clean interface with the React server components. But all the mental overhead of getting here in a new system, and also like the fact that all of this is a second-class citizen and figuring out how to do it. Also, I probably forgot to put use server, and that probably has to be there. Like, there's some little detailing here that we would have to think through. But overall, this would be the component. This is kind of the equivalent to what I just did in my layout. But to get from where we started to here, I would have had to configure... Well, let's talk about this actually for a second. I would have had to configure Jest or Vite, Playwright or Cypress. I would have had to configure Prettier if I wanted it. I would have... Let's just say I'm using Next.js for simplicity's sake. I would have had to pick an ORM. Which one do I choose? Let's say I pick Prisma or Drizzle. Let's say Drizzle to simplify it, but like that's another decision and setup. I would have had to do all of the database configuration and setup or do something online. So there's really like 3 decisions there, but we'll count it as 5 things. We have to do the migration there. That's the same. I'm trying to think of the things that we had for free here. Not necessarily that would have been different. I guess the thing against Rails is we had to add the route and the route context so we could actually create our button helper. So like that's a little extra overhead that like goes against Rails. I can't really think of anything else. I mean, somebody might be like, oh, what about composability? I can make this composable. Like there are share components inside of the Rails ecosystem. Like that's not, I'm going to take that for granted here. I'm probably missing something else, but well, okay. The modeling, the validations, let's say I actually needed a validation. Like, so this isn't, here's a fun one. This isn't in my controller right now, but let's say right now I can just, if I know this endpoint exists, it's not secure. I can just switch it to anything. But what I could do here is I could put a validation either on user or on just the method here that just says, you know, validate user has access to current platform organization. And if that doesn't exist, bail out. So like, that's a pretty easy to fix thing right here. Honestly, like we could probably just build this real quick. So like, validate current platform organization belongs to user. Yeah. Let's see. If current platform organization is nil, fine. If platform organizations includes current user, current platform organization ID. Yeah, if everything's good there, you can add it. Otherwise, there's your error. Boom, done. Validated. And, you know, go throw this under a private method because this is, you don't really want to be calling this external. But like all of a sudden, like I didn't have to change any code here. And this is going to run. And if like I try to give the user access to an org they don't have access to, it won't allow it. So like if I go, I mean, check this out. I mean, this is why Ruby's cool. Like that was really easy to do. So if I go and say, you know, user, I think this is the one I want. Yeah. So there's the user, right? And let's just say platform organizations doesn't have any, right? Let's say I try to take the platform organization, just the first one, it doesn't matter, right? If I take the user and I try to say current platform organization is equal to the org, right? Check this out. It ain't valid. It just isn't. And it's not valid because I was able to write that validation in like 2 seconds flat. Isn't that cool? Like I didn't change any code here. But when I go and try to do this and I can write a test for it, this validation that took me 2 seconds with Copilot to write, you know, took care of everything. And now I don't have to worry about a user getting access to the wrong account ever. To do that inside of this, I have to abstract all this and create my own modeling and validation layer. So like, I'm going to call that 6. So yeah, reviewing the things that Rails gave us that Next.js and React aren't giving us: models and validation, database out of the box and how to use it, unit testing out of the box, end-to-end testing or integration testing out of the box. It gave us, oh, I said there were 6 things and now I'm forgetting what the 6 things were. Well, it doesn't matter. I was hoping it was smarter than that. I'll probably go clip the other part of it and tell y'all. But like, yeah, this is, or maybe I'll retweet it later. But this is cool. Like, you know, we went from doing this in Rails to, or this in React to this in Rails, and it all, I don't know. I think it all makes sense. Heck, we're gonna just add validation to user on for current org. Like that's a super easy thing. And that wouldn't have been like, this would not be hard for somebody to review, right? And if you're like, oh, that's not super readable, that's fine. Like we could fix the readability here. I think this is pretty readable though. Like if you're like, oh, it could have been better. Fine. There it is. Like you do 2 lines of return if. It's all the same. So I don't know. This is all pretty neat, if you ask me. Although I am horribly messing up. Didn't mean to put that there. We don't need this anymore. And yeah, we fixed our linting, we fixed the stuff, we have everybody happy. We're cruising. So I think next time when we're hanging out, let's start looking at these guys. So we're gonna add another OAuth provider, start talking about organization management, and start making it so people can create events. And I don't know, I think after that, I mean, not that the platform's ready to release or anything, but now we could start talking about like additional features and whatnot. But we've added, I mean, I'm not going to say this was an uncomplicated piece of software. We built it pretty quickly, if you ask me. And there's a lot of like really neat stuff we're able to do now as a result. And yeah, there's a lot more complex UI I could be building, and I can make this look a lot prettier. And I should, and I will. That hasn't been the priority of what we've been talking about the last couple weeks. Like maybe next time, like things we probably should also do. I mean, here, we'll switch these to bullets, right? Like next time we could probably talk about, you know, global navigation and layouting. Cause like, that's something that I'm totally missing. Like we could start talking about styling and actually doing it. So there's a lot of little itty bitty things that we could do. I think having more OAuth, I think having more user information, actually trying to make this thing start looking nice will be important. And again, we can come back to like test coverage and all that. I went through the exercise of test coverage more for educational purposes. Like if I was trying to move really fast with this, I might skip tests for now. I might just like, you know, throw some caution to the wind and do some things. But like, I do like some of the tests that we wrote, especially things like this access piece, because now like I have some security around this idea that this kind of works and this will work a certain way. So that's something we're going to just keep in mind. We're going to be very happy with, and this is awesome. This is awesome. Everything is awesome. All right. So we did some refactors. We finished fixing our tests. We added validations. We made some features. This seems like a great place to end the stream tonight, because anything else is going to take me like at least 30 minutes to get started on. But this is awesome. This was amazing. I hope you enjoyed the stream tonight. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I'll post the VOD later as usual. I'll also maybe post some shorts and clips. And if you didn't know, I have been pushing all the code up to GitHub. So if you're like, hey, Dustin, can we look at the stuff you've been building? Yeah, absolutely. We can totally look at that. It's Dustin S. Goodman on GitHub, Event Platform Rails. You can see everything's here, all the commits that I've been making. I just push them up. So you can go through kind of the history of what we've been doing, how we've been doing it, and, you know, just have an awesome time with me. I'm glad you've been here. I'm glad you've hung out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.